to episode 9 of Anonymous Animators. I'm here with Erik Boismier. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. He hails from...
Chatham, Ontario.
Chatham, I don't even know where that is, except for it being in Ontario. That's which province?
Ontario.
Oh, okay,
I
so...
said that. Yeah.
I should just restart this.
No.
No, I'm kidding.
Keep going.
I've made my name fool many times with the geography of this place. Like, I got Mexico mixed up with somewhere, and let me tell you, I've heard complaints. So Erik is an animator who I'm here to ask about his history. He's worked on shows like Mother Up, Rick and Morty, and we're currently working together on the show Pirates Express, which is in production at the moment. Yeah, we should be finishing up soon enough.
Soon enough. It's supposed to premiere sometime next year.
Yeah, I believe isn't the Australian premiere happening before ours?
Oh, I don't know. Actually, it's possible.
I remember them. Anyway, but I mean, they've at least got the first few episodes up and ready.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Erik, what I want to know is why did you become an animator? What exactly led you down this life of debauchery and riches?
So, like every kid ever, I watched a lot of cartoons. And I think it was about when I was 8. Actually, it wasn't a cartoon. I was watching Beetleborgs. And,
Beetleborgs,
yeah.
Jeez.
One of the villain characters came in there. He's like the guy who just drew these characters that became the new villains. Like they had some magic that summoned the monsters into characters. And like and I remember like that show was the first time I heard the word cartoonist. And my child mind's like, oh, cartoonist, that's when he makes a cartoon. Like, I want to be a cartoonist. And of course time goes on and you realize, oh wait, no, the thing I actually want to be is an animator. So we're gone. Cartoons that move.
Yeah.
And yeah, so pretty much since I was 8, I wanted to be an animator. Okay. I just didn't know what it was called at the time. So went through school, largely a waste of time, until I got to college, obviously. Had some awesome teachers. I think we'll touch on that a little more as the questions go on.
Yeah. Okay, well, so with Beetleborgs, tell me a little bit about your love of that.
I don't think I really do love. Like I loved it at the time. It was Beetleborgs. Loved a lot of like the Sentai shows. Watched Power Rangers for a long time. Power Rangers, Beetleborgs, VR Troopers, which I couldn't think of. That was like Ultraman thing. Except that's what all the shows were. They were like rebranded Japanese shows. Yeah.
Well, much like even the Power Rangers when it's like cut up parts of like the original Power Rangers.
I remember
Trinity bulked up.
Yeah. I remember I forget what station did it, but they started replaying the original Power Rangers, and that was the first time I realized that not only is Rita dubbed, she's really badly dubbed.
Well, I mean, all things considered, I mean, if you don't know about, you know, because I as a kid I didn't know anything about the Sentai stuff, right? So I was like, I love Power Rangers myself. I would be the Red Ranger with me and my buddies. Until the White Ranger came along. Was it the White Ranger or the Green Ranger?
The Green Ranger was the first cool guy.
Yeah.
Then the White Ranger was the second cool guy.
Yeah. And when they show up, then everybody wants to be them. But I remain true to the T-Rex wielding Red Ranger.
You don't get a dagger. That summons a dragon.
Well, you know.
You play like a flute.
But the T-Rex.
Yeah, okay.
Anyway, so from pretty much really young, you already knew that you were going to be. Like there was no other like choice of career for you.
I think before that I wanted to be like a fireman, but you know, like I'm a little kid, so whatever. Other than that, the only other profession that really stuck out to me, and this is actually when I was already in college learning animation, was biologist. Just because like on my free time I was looking at like biology lectures and just really riveted with it.
Okay. Right, and so what school did you go to after high school?
St. Clair College in Windsor, Ontario.
All right. Give us a little history of that.
Well, so there were 4 teachers there. There's Rose Boltman, who worked on Daria. There was Richard Moy, who worked on Codename Kazextor. Like, this isn't all their credits, but I'm just going to list one for each one. Ron Kilbrid, who... I don't want to play favorites, but I was almost going to say he was the best teacher. But I mean, like, he's probably like the best friend teacher I've ever had. He worked on Pocahontas 2, so like he's like a retired Disney animator, not Not like they're major features, but so. And Jim, I know his name. What's that? Jim Rutherford, or he was like a special effects artist on I think Jason X and stuff like that.
Oh wow.
So he has teachers with a lot of professional background and like a lot of philosophy to teach. Yeah. Before college, I don't think I ever drew anything that was actually good, because before college I never actually attended a life drawing class, which, you know, your life drawing is kind of where you learn to draw good.
What about, like, did you not take art courses? And
I did. They just never really touched on anything that kind of improved me. Yeah. Yeah, like I don't think I had any really good art teachers until college.
I can agree with that, because I also felt like even though I've been trying to be an artist for like all of my life, I wouldn't say I'm necessarily the best. I mean, I think I've got a decent sense of design, good use of color, but you know, you look at other people and you're like, geez, I mean, I've been studying art longer than you, why can't I do what you're doing? And there's definitely like some things, I started doing life drawing also much later. Yeah. And I can agree with that.
Yeah, so it was a 3-year program, which I guess Banners here is a 1-year program. You went to Banners, right?
Yeah, 1 year intensive.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so like I don't know if it was different. Like we learned basically every stage of production. We learned storyboarding. We learned like obviously animation itself. We learned scripting. We learned film theory. So you know, staging and everything. So yeah, it was a very informative course. Yeah. Okay.
And so yeah, you said it was a 3-year course, but I mean, you know, was it an enjoyable course? Because I mean, like everybody I talked to, like who've been to Van Art, were like very impressed with the quality of like 1 year's worth of work.
Yeah, like it was a great course. Ups and downs in general. I guess there's this kind of phenomenon that the second years were always the worst students there. Like they're always the ones who slacked off the most, and me and my year's no exception.
Any particular reason?
I don't know. I think just at that point we're kind of jaded from the first year, but we don't want to drop out because like we're already this far into it, and we have to rekindle our passion as we go on.
Okay,
which happens for some of us and doesn't for others.
Yeah. I like to believe that my years or my group we were quite liked. I like to believe. With 1 or 2 exceptions, but you know, it's nice to believe that the lecturers or teachers like you. Okay, so then you like, what did you make like a feature film or like a final year film or something?
Yeah, I guess each year that went through was a little different the way they handled their final projects. When I was first introduced to the course, they said the final project would be a 1-minute film. You would animate both in traditional and in 3D. That's something else mentioned. Like we learned like everything. We learned 2D, 3D, Flash, and cutout. But by the time it was my year's turn, we had a final 1-minute short in 2D animation and 3D animation. We could either take a final exam or put together a demo reel. I took the final exam because I just didn't like doing 3D.
Not a fan of it?
Yeah, it's actually that's something I'd like to touch on, because especially you look online, people are like all about, everything is so much better, and as a kid, like all this hand-drawn animation is the greatest thing ever, and like 3D is so lazy, and like it's not.
Oh no,
3D is insanely difficult. Went to the Ottawa Animation Festival in 2010, so this was just before Tangled came out, and there's a presentation there about Tangled to the directors. I don't remember who they were, their names anyway, but they had a story about Glenn Keane where it's like he first came on to the movie to try being an animator. He hadn't really done 3D before, so they sent him off to do his animation, and he came back like 5 minutes later and it's like, I can't do it. You have to push and pull and do all these little things just to get something that looks bad.
Yeah.
So yeah. Where was
I? You were busy explaining your project.
Oh yeah, sorry. So my final 2D short, I did the exams in like 3D. My final 2D short was just a little hand-drawn animation called Dream World, which is like this this little girl going to bed at the night, like she sees a scary shadow on the wall just by the way light's hitting everything, and then so she like covers herself in the blankets, goes to like her own fantasy world, but then like that scary shadow enters her world as like a sentient being. And yeah, that's probably making it out to be more interesting than it is. It's just a little 1 minute cute short.
Yeah, but obviously showcases your understandings of animation. So how, like, I mean, obviously you guys, as you mentioned, you learned all the important bits, like, you know, obviously did you also use the 12 principles?
Oh yeah.
Like, because I remember the reason why I ask this is because not because I assume only a few of us know the 12 principles. I assume it's a vital part of animation.
Yeah.
It's just I remember one of my lecturers mentioning that some people consider it like 8 principles and some are like 15 principles. You know, I don't know if you just had the 12 or whatever.
Don't remember what the exact list was. It's like a thing that you employ them enough to the point where it's just kind of second nature. You don't really remember how many there are, you just know you're doing them.
Yeah.
It's like, there's also, you know, like the basic things like the slow ins and slow outs, and I don't even remember which one is which. I just know what they are.
Yeah.
So that's all I need to know.
Yeah. Squash and stretch.
And like, people,
arcs.
Even people, like, even my teachers and people I work with now, they say secondary action and overlapping action interchangeably, even though, like, you look up Disney's 12 principles, those are two very different things. Yeah. But, like, yeah, we're doing animation and we're doing what they are. We're just not necessarily calling them what other people say they're called. Yeah. It's just the important thing is that they're there.
Yeah. Like, because I recall, to me, secondary animation is like, say, like a cloth or a tail. You know, that's following the. Yeah,
it's just. That's the thing. Like, that seems. I think that's actually backwards. I think. Again, maybe I haven't looked at it in a while, but I remember looking at it as like secondary is like a conscious secondary action. Like if somebody's running across the street and they wave to somebody, that waves their secondary action.
Okay.
And like cloth and hair is overlapping action because it's like the motion that overlaps the conscious action that's happening.
Yeah. No, I mean that makes sense by its very definition, but again, you know, when you get trained one way, then that's what you just.
But again, it doesn't matter what you're calling them. Just
as long as you're doing
them. Yeah.
Okay, so you graduate from your school. What's your first job?
Well, graduated in 2011. Just kind of stuck around Windsor for a while because debt makes it hard to go anywhere. Kind of got in with like an independent studio. I won't name them. It just didn't really go anywhere. And for the time being, I just made my living at a fish and chips place. Okay. Finally, I decided, screw it. I'm going to Vancouver because I know there's work out there. I might not necessarily get it right away, but I need to be somewhere where I can find work, and that's just not Windsor. I mean,
no, is Windsor like a small town?
No, Windsor's like a city, and I mean, it's probably a little bit of major media there, but like nothing like Vancouver or Toronto or Montreal. And Vancouver just in general seemed like the most attractive place.
You haven't contemplated going to the States at all?
No. I just want to stay in Canada. Just make it easier to keep in touch with people, even if I am on the other side of the country now.
True red, white-blooded American, Canadian, sorry.
Not into patriotism, just simpler. Yeah.
All wrapped around your maple leaf flag. Singing while I got that tear. Just oh, okay. But so not a patriot, really?
No. This is completely irrelevant to animation, but I'm sure you've at some point heard of George Carlin.
Yeah.
Like he has a whole bit about like, you know, patriotism. It seems kind of dumb because like you're so proud of something that you had no part in accomplishing.
Yeah.
It's just like.
Yeah. I've seen like an interesting picture of it where somebody had two plants. And the one plant was saying to the other, you know, it's just there in two different plants, and the one is like, this is patriotism, you know, the quote at the bottom, and then the one plant just says to the other one, I'm better than you for living in this plant, and that's on this plant, you know, and it's, I agree, but I mean, there must be something to be said for loving your country, though.
You know, I'm happy with, like, being in Canada, because Canada's a good place to live. I lucked out, I'm not sure if the word I want is genetically. So I lucked out that my parents happened to bang around New Year's in 1990 or 1987.
Yeah.
And I was born in the following September. No, sorry. Yeah, I guess 1987. New Year's January 1st. So yeah, whatever.
Yeah. So.
Well, I was born in 1989, so
Conceived
people who are listening can do the math and they can figure it out.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure there's a calculator somewhere on the internet. But so yeah, you come to Vancouver and then what?
So I moved out to Vancouver. Part of the reason that it was, like I said before, like dead because it's hard to go anywhere, but I was relatively comfortable going to Vancouver is because my friend Lindsay Knoller, who's a former classmate, was already working out here, and she works at Atomic with us. She's on, I think she's on Winston right now. She's moved around to a few different shows.
Okay.
So I stayed with her for a little bit, and I met her roommate Natalie, who's on Pirate Express with us. She sits next to Lidke, because people listening will know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
The people in our office, and this is how everything's made.
Yeah. So I met them, and through them I met Chan and Graham and Ragnar. Actually, I met Ragnar on my first animation job with some other up. But yeah, I met Alex Kwan. So yeah, like generally, making connections is always a good thing, which is another thing I kind of like to talk about, because it's one thing that, from my perspective, it kind of sucks about the animation industry, that you can be so qualified and have no chance of getting work if you don't know anybody. Because I know a lot of the NRS people on Pirate Express, like, they were Hollis's teachers, Hollis being one of the supervisors, and like, you guys got that job right out of college. Not saying that you weren't qualified, just saying that part of why you got that job.
I know for a fact if it wasn't for Hollis, I think I might have hope dropping his name in this regard doesn't cause him any problems. But I do agree.
Hollis is awesome, by the way. He's one of the best supervisors ever.
Oh well, I mean, he was a great teacher too. He taught me. It was weird because in one of the classes he taught me this thing, like an easier way to do ease ins and ease outs, which I immediately forgot, and then but I sort of I used it like whatever I couldn't remember, and I used it for my film, and so a lot of my stuff started looking a lot smoother, like just like immediately. And I remember getting a lot of compliments for that. So I help a lot of the juniors. I know he was very popular with my junior class, the 2D 3/6s, who they were, like the one kid, you know him, he worked with us, Walker. He actually dressed up last Halloween as Hollis. But yeah, no, I mean, I agree. If it's not, it is definitely about who you know, and that can really get you a foot in.
I'll get back on track now, because I moved out, lived with Lindsay and Natalie for a bit, and met these people, and first of all, there wasn't really that much work available, and like there's also the thing that I'm brand new to Vancouver, so nobody really knows me who has any power just yet. So I worked for a cancer fundraiser for a little bit, and then I worked at a Mark's Work warehouse, and then I got a message from one of my friends about want to ask you what your skills are like in Harmony or Flash. So things started lining up, and that ultimately led to me getting my first job, which was Mother Up as a character and prop builder.
Okay.
Following that, I think I was my supervisor was generally impressed with me and Mother Up, because I very quickly got very good and very fast at it. So I had a few extensions on Mother Up, and then I think I would have actually had another extension if I hadn't planned a trip home and already booked the flight, because my boss came by and was like, so you planned your trip home yet? And I planned the flight for the day after my contract is over. It's like, oh, okay, and she walked away. And then I came back and messaged them like, hey, I'm back in Vancouver now, so if there's any work available, if you want me to come back and Mother Up, I can. About a week later, they emailed me saying, do you want to work on Rick and Morty as an effects builder? It's like, awesome. And it was like, within one day, within a few hours, it was, do you want to work on this? Come in tomorrow at 10.
Nice.
So that went for a little while.
Well, watching you work, definitely, I mean, I can see you you put a lot of I want to say love, to be, or whatever. But I mean, I can see like that one scene with the one Lapoutine where the pirate captain, I guess, where you get him to dance.
Yeah.
I mean that's not just I mean it looked like you I mean and you've got like a great sense of timing, and good acting. So I can imagine why they would easily call you back.
Yeah.
It's not like, I'm not trying to...
Yeah, no, yeah, thank you.
I'm just saying, it's like, after watching you work, because, I mean, when I was watching you work, I was under the impression that you've been animating for a lot longer than you even said you were.
Yeah, I figured as much, because I remember, I think the one time you really, noticed what I was doing is... really, we shouldn't talk too specifically about the show because contracts and everything, but basically I had a background element moving like it was animated in 3D space, and you were like, how did you do that?
Yeah.
And I told you, and you're like, yeah, how many years have you been animated? Like, years? 3 months?
And I was very disappointed with myself because I was like, well, okay. I mean, after I saw you do that, though, I started implementing a similar thing, because I'm the type of kid who gets given the blocks and I play with those blocks the way those blocks are meant to be played. Yeah. Whereas some other kids play they figure out a way to use blocks and then bring in other toys to make something interesting from those blocks. Yeah,
actually, that's something I should mention. I was talking to Rachel, our other coworker, sits on the other side of my desk. Just kind of giving her little bits of advice, and one of the things that I think a lot of people, when dealing with this kind of animation, this digital puppet animation, they get in their minds that this kind of animation can only do this much. And it's no, treat it like any other form of animation. You can do whatever you want, just make it happen. If the builds don't work for what you want them to do, alter them, make them work.
Yeah. I think that's definitely a good piece of advice, because my problem was I do remember starting up and then being told, don't mess with the rigs, don't do anything to the rigs, just animate them. And I guess the idea is, let's just see what you can do with the limitations, and then we'll say, okay, push it, see how much you're willing to push it. And so in the beginning I was definitely okay, well, this is the pose and this is the pose, and in between it and happy days. Whereas now I'm like, oh, this is the pose, I'm just gonna bend it out of shape, and then I'm gonna tween it, and then I customize each frame in between, because it's you need to bend it certain ways. So I'm a little bit more expressive. But I learned by watching others, at least. I wish I had the mind to be a bit more creative in that regard. But I think definitely sharing that information, telling people don't go crazy, don't bend the character out of shape for a proper frame, but be willing to break the rig for a second and put it back into place. Yeah,
if it's what you have to do to make the motion sell, especially if you're doing a perspective motion, that needs to happen. But there's also you don't want to go so crazy that it eats up all your time, because we have a quota, and I mean, TV, it's 30 to 40 seconds a week. Depending on complexity and depending on the overall organization of the show. In feature films, you get a lot more time, but it's also feature films, they have to look a lot better.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I must be honest, at this point, I'm still, when it comes to animation, I've always liked TV animation more. I've always liked the animation on 2s, if you will, versus the animation on 1s. Not to say that I don't appreciate either or the other, but I don't know. In my mind, in my mind's eye, the animation on 2s, it feels like a cartoon to me. Whereas once you start going to 1s, the motion starts getting this weird, uncanny valley smoothness.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Even occasionally in Disney movies, there's some kind of floatiness that just looks kind of off. I noticed one bit in Aladdin, when he first shows up as Prince Ali and he's shaking Sultan's hand, Aladdin's feet are hovering just crazy on the floor. Not anything against Aladdin. You actually said you might ask me my favorite movie. Aladdin's actually probably what I'm going to say, because I love that movie to death.
Well, so I mean, the genie was brilliantly animated,
And I just bumped the chair the recorder is on, so there might be a little bump.
That's fine. It's some of my review episodes have like this fridge noise like in the background, and I didn't notice until like I was like, what is that? And then the second time I recorded a review, I was like, oh, there it is. It's because where I do the reviews is from the friggin' Reagan era, and it runs on some atomic fuel or something. I don't know. It's
yeah. The other thing about animating on twos, I also want to point out something that I didn't even learn until I was on Buyer Express, actually. Although I'll say it's possible I was taught in college, but I forgot because that happened for a few things. Even if you're generally animating on twos, if the camera's moving, animate on ones, because the camera is moving on ones, and if the character is moving on twos, they like jitter around because like they're only moving every other frame.
Yeah.
And like actually, it's a Batman Superman movie here, because I was watching on the weekend.
Yeah.
I've been watching a lot of DCAU stuff, and it's all animated on twos, even during camera moves. So there's a lot of that jittering happening.
Yeah. I also noticed that with Pirates, because at one stage I was just getting a bunch of camera pans. Like, it was this weird sort of, here's some scenes with just a bunch of camera movement. I'm like, okay, well, I guess that's the thing that's happening. Not that I'm complaining.
Yeah.
I enjoy my job. I love it. Please don't fire me. Okay, so where you left off in your history, you were at still at Rick and Morty, I believe.
Oh, right, yeah. So Rick and Morty, was effects animator on that. I was also kind of like an extra hand, just doing various odd jobs that were just like loose ends, because Rick and Morty was really tight in production at the time. That was like my shortest job so far. So additionally, I'm not credited on Rick and Morty. So like you go up to like IMDb, my name's not on there. Just so you know. I was credited on it. It's just like late in production, like the credits are already finished, like the credit roll's already there.
So can't you put it in your own IMDb?
I could, but that seems really pompous.
Oh, fair enough.
But yeah, like I was credited on Mother Up, and I will be credited on Pirate Express. I've already looked at the credits, and all of our names are on there.
Oh yes, yeah. I was actually wondering about that. See, Pirates is my first production, so there's a lot of things I don't understand. Like I was asking one of our supervisors today, what is the protocol on putting my scenes in my demo reel?
Oh yeah, I remember Hollis mentioning that before. It's the thing where, like, I guess you actually have to get a list of scenes you want to use and then ask about them, kind of thing. But, and I've actually started looking through scenes that I might want to use on a demo reel in the future. That's something else, because you might notice, like, all three of these jobs now haven't really involved me showing my demo reel that much.
Okay.
It's more just people knew me. Like for Mother Up, like I did send in a couple demo reels, but in general it's just like, because I started, like the first test I went in for was background cleanup, and they're like, you did a good job, but we've gone somebody else, but hey, we saw that harmony is on your resume, so would you like to do a build test? So I did that and got that job. So anyway, Rick and Morty ended, and I kind of did nothing for a few months. Like, again, one of my friends at Bardell got me in touch with Joe, who is one of like the coordinators in Pirate Express. And yeah, I sent a few emails to him back and forth. It was in like, I think it was just before or just after New Year's that I went in for a test for character animation. It was like a posing test. And I think he got back to me like a few weeks later that, so I'd hire you as a junior animator starting in March, like March 10th. My last day on Rick and Morty was December 10th. And that's a really awkward span of time in animation because everything's on contracts. It's like, you can't really squeeze something into a 3-month span. So I just kind of had to go 3 months without working, which was really, really boring.
Could you not get like any temp work in the sense of?
Well, I mean, like, I'm sure I probably could have found like something in retail, but whatever. I wasn't financially hurting at the time, so just bummed around. Explored Vancouver, played video games.
Caught up on that Steam backlog.
Yeah.
How big is your Steam backlog?
Oh,
Help me, guys! He's beating me up. I've got a pretty big backlog, and this is the stuff I have here. I've only been in Vancouver for a year and a bit, and I've got like a huge collection of like games back home that I haven't even finished up yet.
Yeah. I was like, I have no idea what's making this sound. It's bugging me. But anyway, way back in high school, like the DS came out, and I was crazy about that system, and I bought almost one new game every month for like a couple of years. Yeah. So I have a huge DS collection. In fact, I think there's a good chunk of it down there, and some more of it in the shelf over here. I sold 10 games. And if I hadn't sold 10 games, I'd have about 50 DS games.
Okay, so, not a bad collection.
Yeah, but like I think like probably 15 or so of them I never actually beat. So might count that as a backlog.
Yeah.
So.
It can be quite crazy. All right, so back to animation. So then I got on Pirate Express and worked on that, and I think you joined the team in like April or so. Yeah, sounds about right. I would have joined sooner if it wasn't for my international status. It was that's something I should probably talk with people on the show one time. Is just and it's changed now since when I was, and this is like last year. Like it's changed in a year, because when I applied for my student card, now there's a thing called a co-op that's now legal or whatever, and you can study and work at the same time a lot easier, whereas I wasn't allowed to even look at I wasn't even allowed helping with voluntary work. Yeah. You know, and then it's like so much easier now. And then there's this other kid that he got a visitor visa, and now he's upgraded to a work visa. I'm like, what is happening? It was so hard for me to just get this nonsense in order. But yeah, it's I would have started sooner. But Joe was great. Like, he kept my spot open for me. And I'm sure that's where Hollis kicked in. Probably was like, he can vouch for me. And it makes me feel bad because I got called in once for my lack of output. Okay. Which I to this day don't know what happened because I was working so hard, and then Joe calls me in and he's like, you're behind. You only handed in 10 seconds. I'm like, what are you talking about? I worked so hard this week. Yeah. And then it's like the next few weeks, all of a sudden I was handing in like 50 seconds a week, and I'm like, I'm not. If anything, I'm handing in less. What's happening? And so I think, I don't know, I'm sure there's something that was happening with the shotgun system. Yeah, maybe. I know they said something about the tracker. Anytime you submit something that was actually submitted before, you were just submitting like a smaller vision, it counted as you submitting like that entire scene again. Oh wow. So that could have something to do with it. Maybe. But yeah, there's been like a lot of kind of mess with quota on that show, and I don't want to disparage the company too much. I do like working for Atomic a lot. Oh, it's been an amazing experience for me. I mean, it's been hard work. Yeah. But any work worth doing is hard, right? Yeah. But it's a lot of fun, and maybe that's just me, but like that's one thing that like you should really, really like, working animation if you want to be an animator. Yeah. Well, that being said, then what would your advice be to up and coming animators to like how would not even say necessarily people who want to go study it, say people who are a bit broke, like what's I mean, what's your advice of, because I mean I'm sure there's lots of advice you would have liked in the beginning before becoming an animator. Well, I guess first and foremost, no matter what kind of visual arts path you're taking, the two most important words you're ever going to hear are life drawing. Life drawing teaches you everything. I remember when I first got into college, I heard about life drawing. It's like, it doesn't sound that interesting. I don't want to draw realistically. I want to draw cartoons. Mm-hmm. And it's it's not really about drawing realism when you do life drawing. It's about perspective, posing, anatomy, and you learn all the stuff that you can put into all of your drawings, and you can stylize them however you want, but you understand structure and perspective, and everything you draw, once you learn life drawing, looks way better. Yeah, I think... Sorry to interrupt you again. So, no, I agree with the sentiment, because I know with... I was also... And I know a lot of people like this online, people that I've spoken, friends... who are like, no, I don't want to draw Renaissance level, Michelangelo's God creating man type stuff. We want to draw anime, we want to draw Bugs Bunny, we want to draw these ridiculously proportioned characters. And then anytime somebody tells you, no, but you need to understand how anatomy works, and you're like, why? And they're like, no, you just do. And instead of having that mentality of telling you just need to do it because that discourages people more than it helps, you should tell them, like what you're saying is like it's not a matter of learning to draw like the anatomy. What that does is it shows you what you can exaggerate and how to exaggerate, how to turn it into a cartoon. Yeah.
Plus, also posing, obviously, in drawing, like posing in life drawing, exaggerating posing in animation goes a long way.
Okay.
Other thing I really want to touch on, actually, I have a note about it here.
Sure.
Because there's an attitude that you spend online, like on DeviantArt, I think you've almost definitely seen at some point, where you'll have somebody who offers like a reasonable criticism of somebody's art piece, and either the artist or maybe like a fan of the artist will respond with like, well, you can do any better. Like, I hate that so much. I think that is probably the worst attitude for an artist to have, because...
Or even an artist supporter.
Yeah, because... Are you okay with me being a little vulgar?
Go for it.
If somebody criticizes you, it doesn't fucking matter if they could do better. If they're right, it's still right. Like, your response shouldn't be, piss off, you can do better. Your response should be, oh, hey, you're right. Like, this is an issue. I should fix that.
Yeah.
I'll be a better artist and I'll produce better pieces. Like, that's how you get better.
Hear, hear. No, I agree with that. I've also seen so many people, like, it comes back to what I was saying with the anatomy, where you get some people who are like, your anatomy's a bit off, and they're like, no, but that's my style, and it's like, that's fine, you can have a style, but we're just trying to help you get the sense of balance, your sense of silhouette, your sense of all these things that could make your drawing a little bit better. Like, even if it just helps you that little bit more, it'll help you. It'll make you feel happier that you've got that nice sense of balance. Because, I mean, Adventure Time, for example, for all its ridiculous noodly arms and stuff, can only get away with that because it knows where to bend the noodly arm and how, or how to, how to stretch Jake. I mean, there's a lot to. You don't just morph a creature. It's there has to be a little bit of understanding how things should look. But any other rants you wish to yell at the people?
Yes. Oh yeah, so this is another one that's like, it's perfectly well intentioned, and so I don't really have a problem with people saying for help, which is always a good sign. Like, you tell them just keep practicing, like, it's not bad advice, but it's not, I also think it's kind of useless, because like, well, yeah, like, practicing makes you better, like, obviously, but also, like, if you're, like, say you're not going to life drawing, so you don't even know what life drawing is, like, you're not learning these things, like, you're going to keep practicing, but you're just going to keep repeating what you're doing that's not making, that's making your drawings not look that great. It's like, you learn and you practice, and that's what makes you better. Like, you just, if you're left to your own devices and you're just drawing every day, you just kind of keep repeating the same errors. So yeah. So there's one other note I have up here. It's not really relevant to this, but since I have it anyway, it's just another little irksome thing about animation is, like, people say something is cartoony. It's like, that doesn't mean anything. Cartoony is a useless word. Like, there's no one definitive cartoony. Like I said, that's not relevant. Well, I just figured I'd make a note of it.
Like, I come from a graphic design background, and I've had my fair share of nonsensical words exist. Like, I remember, I think it was zhoosh. Like, somebody told me I had to add more zhoosh. Zhoosh. What is zhoosh? Like, they're like, I wanted to zhoosh more, something like that. And I'm like, so you want more orange? And they're like, no, it's got a zhoosh more, like, it's this, and I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what to do. I just changed the design a bit, and they were like, yes, this is what they want. I'm like, okay. It was, so in the same sense, like, cartoony, it's like, I think what they want is a cartoony in their, I mean, it's the same thing with the whole sense of people like the anime design, right, over the Western design. Or, Western cartoon design. It's not to say that, I mean, because it's funny, right, because the anime design really got influenced off Western design, and then Western design eventually got like, one of my favorite animes is Panty and Stocking with Garter Belt. I don't know if you watch anime.
I've seen footage of that show, and I know what it looks like. Yeah,
well, I mean, the idea behind that show is like it's influenced from Powerpuff Girls, like the design sense of Powerpuff Girls, which is funny because the design sense of Powerpuff Girls, their big eyes and their big heads, comes from anime, and then the big eyes and the big heads anime design comes from us with our big eyes, like us round eyes.
It also largely comes from like Disney movies because Disney's class style. Particularly with the princesses, they do have larger eyes. They have smaller mouths than like the little cute.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely. It's just funny. I love the back and forth, but I mean that's great. Like when art begets art, then it's awesome that you just get more from it.
I do. There's one particular artist I'm going to bring up that this time my tangent actually is going to be slightly irrelevant. This guy has a style that doesn't really look like anything else, but I think it looks so good. That's Sean Galloway. He is I first discovered him through the show Spectacular Spider-Man. He did the character designs for that show. If you've seen that show, it's like its look is very off-putting for a lot of people at first because Sean Galloway's style is really minimalist, but it's also it gets structured well, it's proportioned and everything, and it animates beautifully. So that's why I'm absolutely in love with that show. But yeah, also in love with Sean Galloway because his style looks so unlike anything else I've ever seen, but it still looks very good. It's very expressive and everything.
Yeah. Anybody else that really sort of...
Oh, well, I mean, I have plenty of influences. Like, I mean, Glenn Keane, obviously one of my favorite animators. Kira Toriyama, like you can probably see from that shelf over there. I love Dragon Ball.
Yeah. But who doesn't? Except for one of our supervisors.
Dragon Ball's terrible, but it's also awesome.
Oh yeah, like you can't take it seriously. I mean, it's like watching kung fu movies. I don't watch it because I'm a kung fu enthusiast. I watch it because it's a bunch of guys beating each other up, and there's some sort of dragon involved, and hey, good times. But Akira Toriyama's got a good sense of design too.
Yeah.
Though, I mean, if you took the hair off of his characters, they would pretty much suffer from same face.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought Yamcha was Goku for a while. So
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
It also it depends who. If you're watching the show, it depends who's drawing it too, because they had so many different studios working on that show, and I've gotten to the point where I can very quickly pick out certain studios because some of them are very not good. But yeah, we can move on.
You don't want to talk about any more of your influences?
Actually, I think I kind of touched all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, like Disney. DCAU, obviously. I grew up with Batman the Animated Series, and moved on to. I watched Justice League pretty casually. It wasn't until earlier this year that I actually watched the whole thing, all of Justice League from beginning to end. That is a really good show.
Who's your favorite DC hero?
Batman.
Oh, of course, he's the best. Overpowered Mary Sue, as they call him.
Yeah, sure.
I don't know. I don't think it's... I like the idea of somebody who just has a plan. I mean, that's how I do my life now, too. It's I plan for all eventuality, and I do it because Batman did it. I mean, I can't do it on the same level as Batman.
No.
Obviously, I don't have the medical science and the $1 billion behind me to back up every plan, but it's just if this doesn't work, make sure you have something that will work in case that doesn't work. And it's though after watching this, what's your opinion on the Batman versus Superman debate?
Oh, the debate of those characters?
Yeah, if the two of them fought, who would win?
There have been multiple times when they fought and Batman has won, but that's largely for preparation.
But I mean, in the sense of just the general consensus.
I like Batman more, but I mean, Superman, he's Superman. If they're just all of a sudden Superman's just Batman, I don't like you, I'm gonna hit you. Batman's kind of dead. Yeah,
because I mean, say what you want about Batman, but the thing is, it's I was always part of the whole, he'd plan well in advance. but that takes into account a lot of the things that like Superman has to still retain his Boy Scout attitude, and it's you take that away and he will destroy the Justice League without caring.
Yeah, I guess Batman always has kryptonite at the ready too. So.
I suppose. I mean, it's the same thing with Iron Man, right? He's always got Tony Stark's always got some sort of. I suppose that's these rich boy, tech junkies have to have something back then. Okay, well, we're going to round up this with a couple of questions of your favorites.
Okay.
What is your favorite film? It can be anything. It can be anything from even like the last. What's your current favorite film?
Well,
let's do it that way, because...
Actually, I said Aladdin earlier, probably my favorite movie, and I'd put that up there. Like, it's one of my favorite... Especially for Disney movies, blending both that I really, really like the plot of that movie, and I also really, really like the musical numbers.
Yeah. Oh, I love the songs.
Yeah. I love this. I love, like... My taste in music is almost entirely musical theater stuff. So Disney songs, musical numbers from shows, plays...
I was not a fan of musicals for the longest time.
Yeah.
As a kid, I loved a lot of Disney stuff, sure. But whenever the songs came on, I was always like, ugh. I didn't want to hear it. With the exception of The Lion King.
Yeah.
For some reason, I loved The Lion King music, but every other... I loved music. As a kid, I was obsessed with music, but it was, there was just something about Disney musicals that would sort of just throw me off. And then probably within the last 4 years, I just started loving them. I get excited now when there's a song. I'm like, she's about to sing. Shut up. So I get a bit more into that.
Frozen was kind of exciting for me to watch for the first time, just because this may or may not be a good thing depending on who you are, but the first act of that movie is so densely packed with musical numbers.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it's... I don't call it Frozen anymore, we call it Let It Go. Because a friend of ours, he had the soundtrack and he was listening to the soundtrack a bunch. Yeah. And the one day he was talking about the movie and he was like, that movie Let It Go. And we're like, you mean Frozen? And he's like, yes, that one. So we call it Let It Go now. My favourite song from that movie though is Olaf's Summer, Snow in Summer, or I'll Do Whatever. I don't know, I just love it because it's so
I really like the reprise of First Time in Forever when Anna gets to Elsa's ice castle and the scene where they have the song where she freezes Anna's heart.
Yeah, that duet.
But also there's a deleted song called Life's Too Short, which was originally the song that was going to take place at that point, and that song's also really good. So for anyone listening, I advise go on YouTube, look up Life's Too Short from Frozen, because it's nice.
Is it on the soundtrack or?
It's on the soundtrack, and it's there's a few different versions on YouTube. It's the soundtrack one has demo voices, it doesn't have the actual actors.
Okay.
But you can actually find an animatic version that has the actual actresses who played Anna and Elsa singing it.
Well, what if that'll be on the Blue Disc?
I have the Blu-ray, and I don't think it is actually.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, then, what about their favorite TV show?
Futurama.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I love Futurama to death.
More so than even The Simpsons, I'm guessing.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have. It's behind my only Disney stuff right now, but I have the entire Futurama series from Fox premiere to the Comedy Central finale. Yeah, I just love that show. It is so. The humor of that show is so highbrow in some ways and so lowbrow. It just has this two kind of strings of humor. One just the dumbest stupid little lines here and there. But then, it's there's these other really niche science and math jokes in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the winner is number 4 in a quantum finish. No fair, you change the outcome by measuring it.
Yeah, no, they have a lot. I like, man, what's this in my head? No, it's gone. Darn it. Yes, I like Futurama too. It made me laugh a lot. Man, come on. I'm not kidding. While you were busy giving that example, I was thinking of one that I liked, and then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
Stupid brain.
Yeah, that's a really smart joke. But the thing is, that also works if you have never heard of quantum particles or quantum measurement or anything like that, because it's just a funny thing for a grumpy old guy to say. You change the outcome by measuring it.
Yes, well, especially someone with money in the whole space.
Yeah, betting it. But also, one of my favorite dumb jokes in that show is. episode Bending in the Wind, which is one when Bender, like his body stops working and he goes on tour with Beck as like a country singer. Now there's a part where they like go off a hover bridge, but they're in like an old van that's not a hover van, and like Bender stands up all triumphant and he's like, "Oh, save me." That. It's just like Bender summed up in 3 words.
Yeah. Okay, what about a favorite book?
Stuff called. I really like Jurassic Park. Read that in high school. Yeah. I gotta get into like audiobooks because I think like 3 of the books I have there I've only read like.
Audiobooks have been great for myself. I caught up a lot of reading when I was buying audiobooks, and then I moved in, I stopped buying them. But the downside to it, I felt like my spelling started dropping. It was a weird side effect. Like I was like, how do you spell this word? Okay, just and then Google will fix it for me. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if that's as a intentional side effect or maybe just getting stupider as I get older.
I'll say my favorite comic book.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, it's right there, Killing Joke. It's underneath my makeshift pop filter here.
Yeah, I'm all for Killing Joke.
But speaking of Batman again, so like another movie I might say is favorite. Like I still would probably stick with Aladdin. Batman Under the Red Hood. If you've ever seen that.
No.
Okay, it's one of the direct to DVD, Blu-ray DC movies, like animated. That is by far my favorite Batman movie, like theatrical, live-action, cartoon, whatever. It's just really good. And, like, it's based on a really good graphic novel.
Okay.
So yeah, another recommendation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's a ton of DC stuff that, like, the movies that... Even the Marvel stuff. I mean, one day I was going through, like, the verses, like Hulk versus Wolverine and whatever. And I was like, wow, there's a lot of these I never even thought existed. Like, there must have been a time in the 90s where they were just, like, pumping out as much as both sides could.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, the DC direct-to-video stuff just kind of run through the 2000s. And, yeah, like, they just... It's a nice thing they do because, like, they're not big, like, mainstream productions. They're just, like, they're there because they know they have fans who want to see animated movies based on, like, popular, acclaimed graphic novels. There's also another really good one is Justice League Doom, which is based on the Tower of Babel graphic novel. That actually goes back to Batman being prepared for everything. So the plot of that movie is there's like a group of villains that steal Batman's contingency plans to use against the Justice League.
Oh, well. Yeah, no, I haven't seen that on Reddit. But going on to Batman, I think it was in one of the new... I think it was Brave and the Bold. I think it was.
The cartoon?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But was it because... See, Brave and Bold is just Batman, right? But in this particular episode... There was definitely the Justice League was involved, and what happened was, and it was just so funny because this is how kids get introduced to Batman. Batman's like running, and he's got like this device or whatever, like that the aliens want.
Okay. And
he's running, and then he throws it through this hole, and then like the door closes, and he's now stuck on the other side. And then like one of the guys that are with him, one of the aliens that they're trying to help, he's like, I don't sense him on the other side anymore, as if to indicate that Batman's dead.
Okay.
And then for like the whole thing, everyone just assumes Batman's dead. They don't really have time to lament because they have to save this guy. And they do it. And then all of a sudden, like right at the end, when nobody can do anything, Batman comes and saves the day, as he is prone to do. And it's like, but we thought you were dead. He's like, no, I had like a device that could stop him from sensing me. But the thing is, they never explain how he got away from an oncoming enemy army. Like, there was, like, before the door closes, this huge army, and he doesn't explain that. He just explains how he got away from being detected.
Yeah, I haven't watched all the Raven Old, but I do... There's another thing you look online, there's always, like, these pretentious, like, 90s kids, like, everything better in the 90s, and everybody's in love with Batman the Animated Series, which they should be. That show's awesome. But I'm also of the opinion that I don't think Batman has had a bad show, like, since the 90s. Like, I actually really like the Batman. I really like Brave and Bold.
Oh, I love Brave and the Bold. Yeah. They make the best throwbacks.
I thought Beware the Batman would be terrible, just because, like, I always try to reserve judgment until I watch something, and I'm glad I did, because, like, all the news leading up to that show, I'm thinking, this sounds, like, completely against everything I would want a Batman show to be. Then I watched it, and you know, it's actually pretty damn good. Yeah, Brave and the Bold has a musical episode too, so like that was fun.
Oh, jeez, okay.
Yeah,
Oh,
Mayhem of the Music Meister.
yeah, I haven't watched obviously every episode because I was watching it on TV. I never downloaded it. I mean, paid for it on Netflix.
Yeah.
Alright, and what about a video game? What's your favorite video game series or video game, I guess?
Favorite video game? That is a really tough one. Like, video games are a major part of my life, and like even something down to like top 10 is difficult.
Yeah, no, you and me both, brother. But I mean, is there only one particular game that I guess you'll go back to?
Pretty generic answer, but Minecraft. Because like I can't think of any other game that I've actually consistently played for over a year. And that was my experience with Minecraft.
Yeah.
Minecraft's also like, it is a very creative game, and I don't want to like insult people who don't like it, but like it is a game that's largely, it's going to be as fun as you're going to make it. Other than that, I'd really love to give a shout out to Rayman Legends, just because that game's so good.
It's so beautiful too. Yeah. Good music, good sound, good design, good use of color. Yeah, man.
Oh, and Super Metroid, because I know you said one, but whatever.
Oh no, whatever you want to name. It's just whatever's the top one.
It's like I had lunch with you the one day, and I just brought up Super Metroid. I was like, I will unironically state that I consider Super Metroid like the Citizen Kane of gaming.
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, I like when I asked the question too. Like, I think I could name almost like a ton of Sega Genesis games that like. You know, we called it the Mega Drive. Yeah. But the Sega Genesis games that like I just love to death. Rystar being one of them, and I hear nothing about this game, but it was so good.
Yeah, Rystar is so good.
But it's like nobody talks about it. Like, and another thing, like if Sega made an HD remake of that game and didn't fuck it up, I'd be so happy. I'd buy it like 5 times because you know on every bloody console I own. But that will not be. I mean, it took forever just to get Rocket Knight to get relaunched.
Yeah. I just remembered something.
You actually have a copy of it?
No, I have a copy of Little Samson, or a Japanese copy of Little Samson, anyway.
Oh wow!
Yeah, Japanese.
I like the case that it comes in.
Yeah, I was actually surprised how small it was. Like
these are the cartridges I used to use back home.
Famicom games.
Yeah. We used to have the Famicom system, but we called it the Golden China.
Oh.
We never had the NES.
Yeah.
Or at least I never saw anybody with an NES. I got a Famicom.
It's like that thing was like. This is like the most dated reference I could think of, but like that box, like that's the box for the whole game. It's like slightly larger than a Walkman.
Yeah, because a friend of mine, he has the gold cartridge of Legend of Zelda. Yeah, and it's like huge. I'm like, geez, what is this? And then we found out that NES cartridges are huge. Yeah, I hadn't seen anybody with a huge NES cartridge or an NES in South Africa. As I said, I had the Famicom, which is pretty much an NES anyway. Yeah.
This is a Retro Duo. Doesn't actually play Famicom games, so I can't play Samsung, but it plays Super Famicom, Super Nintendo, and NES games.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wait, so it plays Super Famicom?
Yep.
That's
got a couple of Dragon Ball Z games for Super Famicom.
Oh no.
They have Aladdin for Super Famicom. Even though Aladdin was released in English, but it was actually cheaper to get the Japanese version.
Oh really?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Buying on eBay. So
yeah. But yeah, and then one of my favorite titles games is the series in general. Final Fantasy, like 1 through 9, I can easily say I'll play any of those again, like at the drop of a hat. But the one I loved the most was 7. It like really hit me a lot of the time. 9 I loved, 2, 8 was 6 I loved, 5 I loved the job system in 5. You know, it's like each game I can tell you what I loved about it. So I know the feeling of loving every single game. Alright, well, is there anything else you want to tell the fine people at home?
Yeah, so I already made some recommendations. I forget what all of them were, but I know Under the Red Hood was one of them. I mean, I guess I already mentioned Spectacular Spider-Man, but just in case I haven't mentioned that I love that show enough, watch Spectacular Spider-Man. It's the Spectacular Spider-Man, slurring my words. It's just so good. It's 26 episodes. It was kind of a victim of the Disney Marvel merger. But so it's 26 episodes of like some of the best written, best animated superhero TV you will ever watch. it's just, like it's well animated, it's well written, it's well voiced, it's well sound designed. I love it. Yeah.
Okay, well, is there any way that these people can get hold of you or find you online? Any website that you want to share? DeviantArt or Tumblr?
Yeah. I was like, I have a Tumblr that is originally like just kind of hobby stuff because I was doing commissions and requests for it. Speaking of which, if you want to do like art requests and make a significant amount of money, bronies have kind of deep pockets.
Yeah, but I find you have to also like.
Well, you also have to be good. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but like because I've had some friends who've tried to fish in the brony pockets, and they didn't like advertise. You have to advertise.
Yeah.
You have to find the bronies and be like, hey guys, I am willing to draw for you. Just you know.
But like I made probably I think about $400 doing the commissions for my pony stuff. But yeah. So anyway, what I was mentioning is like I have a Tumblr that started out just for pony stuff, but now it's like a general art blog. So it's still mostly pony stuff. If I mention it, and it's Erik B draws stuff. .tumblr.com.
Okay. I'll put that in the comment, or what do you call it, the about. Put it in the doobly-doo, as that one with the ideas channel.
Yeah.
Ever since they call it the doobly-doo, I can't remember what it's really called. I'll put it in the information section at the bottom of the YouTube video.
Yeah.
I word good. Alright. Yeah. Well, thanks, Erik, for this. It was good to know a bit more about you. Do you want to sign us off? You can just say goodbye to the people however you wish.
Yeah. I made a joke when we were doing the audio test, but I just realized it's not actually on the podcast. So have you ever tried to eat a clock?
No.
It's very time consuming.
Da-da-bum.
Hey, Leslie, come back.